Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how I've been starting to get acquainted with Google Classroom. Go ahead and log into your Google account. For those of us at Dr. Rooney, it's your at ddn.ac.th account. And you're going to use your toolbar up here to go Classroom, or you can just type Google Classroom into Google search if you want to do it that way. You can go ahead and access the classroom. There we are. Internet's being a little slow at the moment. But you see I already have a few classes set up. If you don't have any classes built yet, you're going to want to press this plus in the top right corner to create or join a class. So if you're a student, you can join a class, or as the teacher, you can create the class. Okay, so you're going to want to name the class name. So let's just say this is Listening and Speaking 1. Okay, so section, I would say this is lower secondary, because Listening and Speaking 1 would be for M1. But if you were in M4, 5, or 6, you would want this to say upper secondary. And then the subject is always going to be English. And the room is what class is this for? So I'm going to say M1/1, right? If you could also say M1/2 if you're doing more than one group. This is really just for you as a reference. Okay, and then you're going to click Create. Then you will have a new classroom once it creates. Good old turtlenet. Okay, excellent. So here we are in the classroom screen. You can see the class code right here, and you can change this if you want to, and if you want to display it, see it bigger, this is what you're going to share with your students so they can actually join your classroom. Okay. Upcoming no work due soon. We haven't created any work. If you want to share something with your class, make an announcement. Hello, welcome to Listening and Speaking 1. Right, and you can post this, and then it'll go here. So this is, you can choose what you want to say. You can also, if you're done with it, you can delete it with these options over here. Comments will also be deleting. If you want to send it to just specific students, when students are in your class, you can do that as well. Or you can even create groups with your students once you have students. But that's just for giving them a simple message. You can even attach files to these messages if you want to do that. Mostly what I've been doing, though, to get prepared for the semester is I've been creating classwork. Okay, so this is where you're going to assign work to your class. And the classwork is really a great area, so we can go ahead and start with an assignment. Right? What are we going to call this assignment? So we can just call this lesson 1. Right? Instructions, what do we want to do for lesson 1? Since this is listening, speaking, we're going to make a 1-minute video introducing yourself. Introducing. Really quick. So whatever your instructions are, you can do that. And then what you can do is you can add any sort of files through Google Drive. You can upload a file from your computer right here. You can link a website or even a YouTube video. So let's say we wanted to link a relative video, or if you want to create something new, you can click Create. Now when you can create a new doc from Google Docs, slides, sheets, drawings, or forms. So for this example video, I want to show you forms because this is where you can create your quizzes. So go ahead and click on Forms here, and it's going to create a form automatically into this assignment. The students will have access to this. So we can say pre-test, right? Something like that. And if you want to give it a more detailed description, you can. Now, one of the things I've done already, which I'll be able to import, but you'll have to create your first time, is the first section. So we can say import questions over here, or you can add questions. But I'm going to go ahead and show you. You can import questions. I have some of these other tests I've already made. So I'm just going to click on my most recent one, Overachievers, which is from M5. But this first section, name, class, student number, you're going to want to always import these options to your test. This is going to help you identify your students when they take the quiz. So go ahead and click Import Questions. You'll have to create this your first time. So the first one is a short answer question. You have all these question types: short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop down. You can upload a file as what's required of them. Linear scale, multiple grid, checkbox grid, date and time. Okay, so but for their name, you want it to be a short answer, and you want to make sure that this is clicked, that it is required, right? You don't want students to be able to go through this without entering their name. And then the second option is going to say class. Well, since this I imported it from my 5152 class, this is 1112. I would want to change this to say 1/1, 1/2. So now I know which class group my student is from when they do it. And once again, make sure that it's required. And this is now a multiple choice option because there's only 2 options, so multiple choice is fine here. If you had a lot of options, like student number, for example, I have 30 options because I have up to 30 students in each of these classes. What you can do here is you make it a drop down. So when the students see the student number, they choose a drop down menu just like this is a drop down menu, and they will select their student number. This reduces the amount of space that shows on the form. Okay, and then once you're done with this, when you press this Add Section button here at the bottom of your options panel, this is going to separate your sections. So now we have section 2. So our first section of the test is literally just your name, your class number, and your student number. Then in our untitled section, we are going to say, pretest again or whatever if you want to rename the different sections. But here it is. And then we have our untitled question, first question. So I just want to show you the different question types that you can do. Multiple choice is pretty self-explanatory and going to be probably the question type you're going to be using most of the time. So we can say is, hi, my name, and you can put some blank Jacob, and then and this isn't short answer, we'll go to multiple choice. Was, right, is, at, are, right? So we know is going to be the correct answer, right? And once again, you can make this required. One thing I haven't done yet is I haven't made this an actual test. It's just a form, and I'll show you how you can do that in just a few moments. But let's go ahead and add another question, right? Let's say you have a series of true and false questions. You can make it multiple choice and have option 1 be true and option 2 be false, but a really great way to do this is the multiple choice grid, right? So true or false, right? Heat rises. I don't know, we haven't had any relative. Jacob is a twin. For those of you who don't know, I am a twin, right? His favorite color is purple, right? So then in columns over here, you're going to say column 1 is going to be true, column 2 is going to be false. So then, anyway, once again, you want to make it required. Then when we click out of here, you see true or false. You have the option. They can select one or the other, right? Okay. So let's take a look at another question type. We can do checkboxes. Now checkboxes, they can select more than one answer, right? What are the primary colors? Right, so we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, right? So we can have 6 options here, right? And then they can select and check any of these options, okay? And then the other thing would be a checkbox grid, which is much like a multiple choice grid where they can have columns and you can give multiple checks for each option. Let's say What did Jacob show you? Let's see, actually I'm not sure. This you would say like select all that apply, right? Jacob showed us. Dorn showed us. George showed us. So let's say you watched a video or something, and then there's these three people, and they showed you different things. And some of them showed you how to use Google Classroom, how to use Zoom, how to dance, how to act, how to improv, right? So then when we take a look at this checkbox grid, Jacob showed us how to use Google Classroom, how to Zoom. You could have them check these two boxes. Dorn showed us how to dance, and George showed us how to improv, right? Something like that. So you can have multiple options for, or maybe Jacob showed us how to improv as well with George. So you can have it, and we'll go over those different options there. I just want to show you some examples of how these questions are. Oh, I said section. So let's delete this section, and we will just add another question. One more question. There we go. So if you have short answer or paragraph, you want them to type in the correct answer is yesterday and you say, what is happening here? Ah. All right, and then so you want them to obviously type in the short answer to be walked, right? Let me make sure these are right. So rather than we put walk in parentheses, giving them an idea of what tense are they supposed to be using. We want them to produce the answer. And the other one would be a paragraph where they can write a long answer like, what was the main idea of the reading, right? If it was a reading assignment. And then they get a chance to then write their answer into the long paragraph option. Okay, so when you're finished writing your test, you can come up here to your responses, and you can see there's different ways to do your responses. But before we do this, I want to go to our settings, and we want to click on quizzes, and we can make this a quiz. And then when you make it a quiz, you can choose to release the grade immediately after each submission. So when the students complete the test, they will know their score immediately, or you can choose to send it to them later after manual review. Let's say you want to make sure all the students turn their tests in first, or that you have to go and review things like short answers or paragraph questions before you can give them a response. Okay, and then when they do get their score, you can choose what they can see. Do they see their missed questions, correct answers, point values? And I think it's good for a learning experience for them to be able to see all of these. That is, of course, up to you. So we're going to save this option. And now in my responses, in the actual test, when I click on it, you can see I have this answer key option. So when I click on the answer key, I can choose how many points is this worth. Is it worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Up to you. Most of my questions are going to be worth 1 point. And then you get to choose what the correct answer is. My name is Jacob, and then you can hit done, right? Making sure it's required. And you can move on, and you can do this with all your questions. Answer key. Heat rises, true. Jacob is a twin. His favorite color is purple. False, right? Okay. So I want to try and make this really quick for you guys. What are the primary colors? Red. Answer key. Red, yellow, and blue, right? This is worth 1 point as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, we'll do this really quickly. Use Google, how to dance. Dorn showed us how to use Zoom, and George showed us how to improv. Okay. There, we go to answer key, and you can actually add a correct answer. Walked. Oops. All right. Mark all other answers incorrect. So if you know that there's 1 or 2 potential good answers in here, you can do that. So that way you don't actually have to go manually check things like short answers. But with the paragraph option, there is no, you can add answer feedback, so types of feedback that you would give them depending on what they wrote. Okay, so we're just going to say that's done. That's worth more points because it's, so then it tells you what your total points are up here. And then when you're finished with that, you can go to your responses. 0 responses so far. But what you can do is you can create the spreadsheet, and you'll want to create a new spreadsheet. It says Untitled Form. Let me cancel that real quick. Let's change this. We call it pretest. Okay, excellent. So now it's going to call it pretest responses. This is going to be saved automatically into your Google Drive for your classroom. Or you can select an existing spreadsheet, but I think that creating a new spreadsheet for each assignment is an easy thing to do. So go ahead and hit create. Now we have a spreadsheet is linked. It says here down below. It's going to show us the spreadsheet, and this will constantly be updated as responses come in. So let's go back to our test, and we can hit preview. So now we're going to see what the test looks like to the student. It says your email will be recorded when you submit this form, not you. Switch accounts. You can change if you have logged in, because many people may be using the same computer for the Google account. Is required. Option 1. So for some reason these were, I didn't take those out. Those were, I know where those were added. I'll take those out later. And I can show you this name, right? I'm Jacob. Let's say I'm in 1-2 and I'm student 14, right? I can hit next. Hi, my name is. Now I can answer the questions in the test. True. See, it says requires 1 response per row because we said it was required. Red, yellow, blue. The main idea was to show us how to create a classroom and assignments in Google Classroom. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful for you. Let's go ahead and hit submit. Now the response has been recorded. I can close this window, or I can submit another response. I can go ahead and close this. And if I come here now on our sheet, we can see I have scored a 9 out of 12. Why didn't I get a perfect score? Let's take a look at the responses. Oh, the reason why is because I have to, it says awaiting the main response. I have to assess whether this was worth. That's why I didn't get a full score here. So, score not released. So I can click on his test, and those are worth 0 points. I can say, how many points was this worth? You did a great job. I'm going to give you 3, and I hit save. So it's a good thing it forced me to do that. Now when we come back to here, we can see 12 out of 12. This student got a perfect score, right? I'll go back to my questions though. For some reasons, this was, we're just going to, oh, where's the delete option? Oh, here it is, trash can, right? If you don't want that question, you just get rid of it. So when I thought I was adding earlier, I know where that came from. We added that. Okay, so yeah, you delete if you want to get rid of an option. So that is how you create this. If you want to send it to the students, you can do that, but there's no need. You can you can share it with somebody. No need to do that. You can customize the theme if you want it to be red, orange, purple, blue. So depending on your class or your section, maybe you want to color code it. Default is fine, in my opinion. It's completely up to you what you want to do there. can also change the image on your header, detail it towards your class. Okay. When you're finished with that, you can go back to Forms Home if you want to see all the forms that you have in your Google Drive. So it's going to show me all the ones I've created. But you can just close this window and you're finished with that. Same with this. You can come back and reference this when doing your scores later. Otherwise, you can just close that. And now you can see it is here in the assignment. Actually, I'll close this assignment. And now we have this Lesson 1 draft. If I edit the assignment, it says Untitled Forms, although it should be, let me refresh it, it should be called Pretest. Yeah, see, there it is, Pretest. Okay. If you want to add other things to the assignment, like I want to add a video, right? We have all that stuff. Grade importing class can import grade for assignments. Grade importing automatically limits each form to one response per user, collects email addresses, and restricts responses to users in your domain. So this means that students can't retake the test. Right? So we want to have that checked as well. You can also choose how many points this is worth. If it's worth, so we have 12 is what our test said. The other thing I like to put is your topic. So you can create a topic over here for this lesson. This is a listening and a speaking class. I can create this as a listening topic, right? And if we have a rubric, you can create a rubric of how is it going to be graded, okay? So pretty simple. I hope this is helps you guys be able to navigate through the Google Classroom and the assignments. Now, if you're ready to assign it, you can click Assign. If you want to come back and set it for later, you can save it as a draft, or you can schedule. I know that I want this assignment to be available to my students starting on May 4th, right, at 8 a.m. And I can hit Schedule, and then it will be saved as a draft, and then it will automatically be sent to your students on the day and time that you've set, okay? So I hope this is helpful for you. Here in People, if you had students, you could see who they are. Grades, it can show you the grades of the students, but we haven't done any of that yet. This is just how to start creating your classroom and how to add some assignments. So if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. I hope to add more of these in the future. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will hopefully hear from you next time.